Hello, everyone. Good morning. Happy Sunday, May 11th. Now, I didn't say the obvious, right? The happy Mother's Day. Because guess what? Mother's Day is not always happy. And for me, Mother's Day has been a source of a giant bleeding wound for a long, long time until I healed it. And I just want to talk a little bit about that journey today, in hopes that it might help some of you, even if you just know that there's another person who understands. Anyone who's ever been abandoned by a parent has an issue, right? I mean, there's just no way around it. You can't not have something that is tugging at you, tugging at your heart, tugging at your soul, um, hurting you. So I want to talk a little bit about my mom. My mom's name is Gina, and she is in the spirit world now. Um, she had me when she was 19 years old. And Gina was so young, and she had some issues with her childhood too, of course. And so when she had me, she was just not, she had no idea what she was doing. And she and my father had a very difficult, contentious relationship, and I'll leave it there. And so at some point when I was about a year and a half, maybe a little less than that, she left and she did take me with her. My dad, though, couldn't stand the thought of not raising me. So he went to see my mom and said, I just want to hold my daughter. And when she handed me over, he said, see ya. And he just got in the truck and he went back to his house. Now, this is like 1975, right? So it just was what it was. And she felt like she couldn't just follow him or manhandle him and get me back in that way. So what she did then was she tried to get custody. They went through divorce proceedings. Her father at the time was very, very wealthy. In fact, um, he had a really thriving business, and he said, you come back here, I'll pay for you to go to school, you don't have to worry about anything. He just wanted her to get her life moving in the right direction. So everything sort of conspired against Heather having her mom. and and then when she left, that was it. I don't remember ever seeing her again until I was about 6 years old. And in the picture of me sitting in her lap at age 6, there's this like look on my face like, I think I'm supposed to be happy. Who is this woman holding me? I don't know. So I saw her on and off, while I was growing up. I certainly had her phone number. Most of the time, I had her phone number. I saw her in the summers, maybe starting around age 10 or 11. I don't really remember. There's a couple of pictures of us going to Disney Magic Kingdom, and which is why I'm a Disney freak today, because my mother gave me that. It was the one happy thing that we experienced together. But I don't ever remember being with her on Mother's Day ever in my life. And in elementary school, when they would give us the little assignments, you can probably remember this, right? When the teachers are like, "Okay, we're gonna make cards for your mom. Here's some construction paper. Here's some crayons. Here's some scissors." And I was like, "What?" I was horrified because I didn't have a mom. And I remember finally getting brave enough. I don't remember what grade I was in. It was certainly elementary school, but I don't remember what grade I was in. But I remember asking my teacher, can I write Granny on mine? Because I don't have a mom. And I remember her going, you have to have a mama. You don't have a mama? No, no, I don't. I do not. And she said, "Well, that's okay. You can make yours for your granny." Jeez Louise. So these Mother's Day traditions, the whole idea that there is a holiday that's about moms. On the one hand, now that I am a mom, like I get it. It feels nice when my daughter gives me a card and these flowers here. Um, but on the other hand, it can deeply, deeply wound people in the worst kind of way. Because when the two people that brought you into the world, when one of those people or both abandon you, you've got big wounds right here. So, what do you do? What do you do? I'll tell you what I did, and maybe it'll help. Before my mom died of a drug overdose in 2013, I was angry at her for all of it, for the way I suffered in her absence, for the way her absence made my life much, much harder than it should have been. And all the little wounds, like the one I described earlier, were just sitting right here, right on top of my heart. And there was one time when she asked, after my daughter was born, she asked if she could come see me at Christmas. And I didn't have the heart to say no. And part of me still, this little bitty girl inside of me, still wanted my mother. Even if she was an addict, even if she was high most of the time, I still wanted her. And I loved what I had made in my mind as what she should have been. Like, I loved the image of who she was supposed to be for me in my own head. That's what I loved. And so I said, well, okay, well, maybe I can still have what I want. Maybe we can start over. Now that I have a daughter, maybe that's enough because I wasn't enough. So she came. The only rule I had was that she not smoke. And so she stopped smoking for those 2 weeks. And she spent 2 weeks in my home and almost drove me batty. But I got one really good thing out of it. We were sitting under the tree on Christmas Eve and we were wrapping Sarah's presents. That's my dog. And I finally asked her, why, Mom? Why did you leave? Why did you do all these drugs? And she immediately replied with, because I had to forget about you. Now, when I tell that story, most people are horrified. They're like, "What? Your mother said that to you?" Well, yeah, yeah, she did. She said it. And for me, it was the most helpful thing ever because all of those years, I thought there was something about me that made her leave. And I realized in that moment that her leaving was very, very painful for her. And the only way she could escape that pain was through drugs. That was the only idea that she had, or that was the sole lesson she had chosen. So in that moment, it was like so many years were just put in perspective, I guess. It didn't take away my pain necessarily, but it made me understand her pain in it. Oh, okay, you had pain too. How selfish have I been to only look at mine? So I took that in. It took some time. And it was still the kind of the same. She went home. She would call. We would talk every now and again on the phone. And you got to understand when my mom was when I say she was gone, gone. So we were not in the habit of talking a lot. So right before she died, she called me. It was her birthday, and she called me, but I didn't realize that she called everybody. She called me, and I didn't answer the first time because I was like, oh. I can't do it today. I just can't listen to her talk about herself. And I can't listen to that inflection in her voice that makes me know she's high. I just can't do it today. And I ignored the first call. And then she called again about 15 minutes later. And I picked it up because I was like, maybe there's something happening. Maybe I need to answer the phone. I answered. I came up and I was sitting very much in the same spot I'm sitting now. But I had still had Sarah's little glider rocker from when she was a baby. And I was sitting here in this glider rocker, listening to mom talk about the TV show, Downton Abbey. It was like huge. She had just gotten these books and she was so excited and she was high and she was talk about herself for 45 minutes. And 5 days later, they found her dead in her apartment. She had on two fentanyl patches and a recent prescription for 150 Lortabs was reduced by half. Her official death certificate said um, COPD, diabetes, and then in fine print at the bottom of the report, it said fentanyl within overdose range. My mom definitely did what I knew she did. And I was so angry. God, I was angry. I was so angry because then it's like she throat punched me on her way out. That her whole life had just been to hurt me. I was pissed in the worst way. I had to get a U-Haul. I had to pay money I didn't even have. We were struggling financially. I had to pay money I didn't have to deal with this. My father actually helped. I called him and I was like, you have to help me. I can't do this by myself. And he did. He helped. It's hard even telling the story. But here's what I want you to know. This is what's happened since. There was a really good medium that I trusted, and I needed to confirm my suspicion that my mom had did this to herself. And when I got the medium on the phone, she was so kind to me. And she was so understanding and she confronted my mother and she finally made her admit, you assisted. It was like mom had sort of played a little bit of Russian roulette with her life. Like she took a whole bunch, but it takes a whole bunch if you're already kind of addicted to things. She took way more than when she normally took. So I think she knew that it would happen. And she was relieved to be out of her body. She was relieved to not be in pain anymore because she did actually have physical pain. And she apologized from the other side through this medium. But I said something. I said, what a waste. What an absolute waste of her life. She could have been my mother. She could have been what I wanted her to be. She could have fit into the mold that I thought I deserve by virtue of just being born, right? And that's the thing, right? That's the thing. When your expectations aren't met, there's disappointment in every situation. When you go in with an expectation, your expectations aren't met, there's disappointment. But in this case, babies don't have expectations except to survive, that somebody will feed them, that they'll be warm, and that they'll be okay. But when I looked at the rest of the world and I compared myself and my mother in our journey to everyone else's that I was privy to as a child, what I saw was that I didn't have a mom and everybody else did. I was ticked. I mean, think about it. How many people do you know were raised by a single father and not a single mother? So, yeah, there was a lot of examples of kids that didn't have dads, but not a lot at all that didn't, examples of kids that didn't have moms. So I had compared myself the whole time and I had just injured myself by doing it. And the adults in my life didn't really help. My dad was he always said your mama left you. He never said your mama actually left me because we didn't get along and I yelled at her and I was abusive. He never said that. What he said was your mama left you. You're just like your mom. And then the other thing that my grandmother said to me, she would say, when you look at animals out in the wild, like little dogs, cats, they they have puppies and babies. They don't leave their babies. I just don't know how your mama did it. I'm just like, ah, I was horrified, right? I was like, what's I internalized that. I'm sure she didn't mean for me to do this, but I internalized that as a child as what in the heck is what is so bad about me? So this created a very wounded adult, a wounded child and a wounded adult. Mother's Day is bleh, it's a reminder of all of it, right? It's gross. And so every year on Mother's Day, until recently, I have been nope, not dealing, not thinking about it, not talking about it. Fuck Mother's Day. But here's the truth. When I said that to the psychic, when I said, what a waste, if she could have come through the phone and punched me or slapped me on the cheek, I think she would have, because she was like, Heather, no, that is not how you respond. It is not up to you to calculate the worth of your mother's life. You are not privy to her soul path. You are not privy to the journey that she was walking. You are not privy to the lessons she was learning. You don't get to decide what anyone else's life is worth. I was like, I was already crying, I was already hurt. She knew that. But to speak so sharply to me in the middle of that pain really made an impact. And I didn't get mad at the medium. I just sat with it. And I was like, wow, like what if her journey was to learn about addiction, to have that pathway? Maybe she'll come back in a future life and help people with that. But what if her pathway was a painful one too? And the source of that pain came from losing me. It all made sense. Holy shit. And then I saw my mother finally after her death. I finally really saw her for loving me enough to give me the journey I had because I couldn't be the helper that I am today in people's loss and grief had I not gone through so much loss and grief in my life. And it's not just my mom, there's other stuff too. People who seek to help other people, people who seek to make better the experience of being human, to lift the human spirit, to help people who are living in the human condition. Those people, therapists, even doctors, um, definitely mediums, we all go through stuff because I can't accurately see your pain if I don't understand it. And so sometimes when I'm channeling someone's mom and their mom and the client, the mom and the client had, the mom and spirit and client had a beautiful relationship. Man, I just love that. I love channeling for them because I see glimpses of the thing that I always wanted. And it just, sometimes I get a little teary eyed because it's just so much love. But the other thing that I now know after becoming a medium, realizing that I was a medium and then studying to become a medium, and then having now 6 years of experience doing this, what I now know is that there's love in all of this, that it took a lot of love. for my mom to sacrifice herself in that way so that I could learn. It took a lot of love in the spirit world before the life plan started for her to say, "Yes, I'll be the one to walk away because that'll create pain for me, and I need to learn this." And the pain it creates for her will help her help so many people. It was a sacrifice for everybody. And that is the only way you learn is by doing the lesson in this lifetime. In every lifetime, there's a different lesson, there's a different plan. But you, as a very, very wise soul, understand the plan before you come in. But these brains of ours, they're human. They don't understand the plan. And so the brain goes, wait a minute. I want X, Y, and Z because I feel like I should have that. This guy has it. Why don't I have it? She has it. Why don't I have it? Other people seem to have all the things that I don't have, like a mom who loves me, who bakes the cookies for the bake sales, and who happily receives my construction paper card from Mother's Day. Whatever your pain is in your life, maybe it has nothing to do with Mother's Day. Maybe it has nothing to do with your mother. Whatever your pain is in your life, I want you to know that the person on the other end of that pain has pain too. And we aren't privy to what they agreed to. And if you really look at who you are now as a result of going through that pain, you'll see someone you never could have become without it. It's a gift. Our struggles are actually gifts. And sometimes you can't see that when you're in the middle of the struggle. I certainly couldn't see it. I spent almost a decade pissed off because my mama left me. And now I feel like it's one of my superpowers because I can come in and let people know immediately that I understand them on a cellular basis. I understand that pain. And the beautiful thing is that I have my own daughter now, and I turned all of it around. I raised her to be a beautiful human being, and I'm so proud of her. And these flowers here, they're from her. And she knows not to overdo it because I'm like, yeah, Mother's Day. But she knows that she is carefully patching up the wounds that I had just by being who she is. And I know that every person I'm able to help who lost a parent that I identify with, I'm slowly patching it all up. So, how will you take your pain and help someone else? That's the message today. Yeah, Mother's Day is tough for a lot of people. People that wanted to be moms and couldn't be moms, like my wife, who tried very hard with IVF and other things to be a mother herself. This is before we met, obviously. She couldn't be a mom. It's a painful day for her. But you know what? She met Sarah when Sarah was 5, and she's helped me raise her, and she is just as much a mom. How can you reclaim strength from your struggle? That's what this is about today. So even if it's not Mother's Day, even if you see this message in November, even if you watch this and you're like, this has nothing to do with Mother's Day, what I'm going through. That's the message. How can you reclaim strength in your struggle? And how can you know that all of this was a plan? That you are actually a very, very wise soul, that your higher self is still rooted in heaven, that your higher self knows the plan before you're born. And you plan something really hard for yourself and you're doing it, you're killing it. So pick yourself up and dust yourself off and know that happier days will come. I promise.